So the reason why I'm even making a video on this is because, as we saw, James Harden, he doesn't have that much trade value. He's on a big contract and he just doesn't perform when it comes to the playoffs. He's very on and off, and we don't know what you're going to get from him. But on the regular season, he's a great player to get. And I noticed that none of the NBA teams really need him, to be honest. There's only one team that I know that could utilize him and use him very well, but most other teams in the league are straight. So that makes this situation even harder because they can't just really move off of James Harden for anybody. It has to be a very special trade. And what also makes this hard is Joel Embiid just came off of having one of his best seasons, and he was finally able to capture that MVP trophy that he's been wanting so badly. And this is bad for them because he's hitting his prime, he's hitting his stride, and it's going to be very difficult for them to utilize his potential because he's not going to have a second star with them because James Harden doesn't want to be on the team. So what is this team's new direction? What are they going to do? Well, option one is they could try and trade James Harden for a bunch of role players. Teams would be willing to give up role players to get James Harden, but they wouldn't be able to give up young talent or another star for a star. So you could go and get role players like, I don't know, Norman Powell and a bunch of other pieces around them to surround the team with Joel Embiid. But is that good enough for that team to really go to the finals or even go and have a deep playoff run? Me personally, I don't think so. So what Philly's going to have to do is they're going to have to get a disgruntled star to come to Philly in exchange for James Harden so that they can continue to build with Joel Embiid and have a successful team. And I think that's a lot easier said than done because, like I mentioned earlier, James Harden doesn't have a lot of trade value, but they do have other pieces that they can add in order to get a higher upper echelon type player. They have pieces like Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. And for some reason, a lot of 76ers fans are very high on Tyrese Maxey, but I feel like they're kind of overrating him. Similar to what we did with Tyler Hero when there was trade rumors for James Harden. And now looking at it, the Miami Heat clearly should have got James Harden instead of trying to keep Tyler Hero. But back to the point. Tyrese Maxey's a young star in this league, and he's just going to keep developing and developing. So what I think Philly should do is they should package him and James Harden or him and Tobias Harris and just all around rebuild this whole team. And I believe he has a lot more trade value than someone like James Harden because he's so young. And you can go out and get a player like Damian Lillard, who I think would be really effective on this team. And he would fit perfectly around Joel Embiid. And he shows up when he needs to in comparison to James Harden. Or you could go and try and get a player like Zach LaVine. I think that would be a more difficult situation because they're saying that the Bulls have a high asking value for Zach LaVine, but it's still doable. Something, just anything to keep Joel Embiid happy and have him stay on this team because Joel's a generational big man and you have him right in your hands. And you would hate to have him just walk away for nothing. That's why this trade is so crucial because I believe that Joel Embiid is willing to leave this team and go to a contender just so he can try and compete and win every season. And I'm positive because he came up with a quote saying that. So they need to come up with a decision. Are we going to potentially throw away all our future to try and please Joel Embiid and still try and compete for that championship? Or are we going to go back into the process, part 2, try and give up all these pieces, give up Joel and properly rebuild and try to properly, build through the draft this time and pick the right prospects. Not Ben Simmons, not Markelle Fultz. Pick the right prospects and, put ourselves in a better destination in a few years. Me personally, I believe that Philly's going to try and just, build around Joel Embiid, but I don't think it's going to work out. And I personally am calling it now. I think that Joel Embiid's going to leave, and I think he has potential to go to teams like New York. Possibly, this is an interesting one, the Pelicans. And this last team would be a crazy situation, but if everything goes right and he doesn't get traded and Dame stays in Portland has the assets to be able to give up players and picks to get Joel Embiid. And you have a team of Dame and Joel Embiid plus other players like Scoot Henderson. So when you drafted, you might have to give him up in the trade, but there's a possibility you don't. You have that many assets. That would be phenomenal for Portland. They get to keep their star and add another one. But that's just an example. But they need to make a decision now. Because, man, James Harden's already stocking up on the honey buns and burgers, and he's going to put back on that fat suit until you trade him.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
But that's just my thoughts. NBA Sphinx, out.